Why is Jamaica considered the most dangerous Caribbean country? And how is it that they have entire societies of Rastafarians who live on the green herb? Welcome to Fact Frenzy. Today, we immerse ourselves in the oddities and mysteries of a distant island that will charm you with its contrasts, from frightening black magics to burning springs for spa treatments. Jamaica is truly something that will surprise or even startle you. Let's begin. Write me beforehand in the comments for which next country you would like me to make a video with facts. You decide entirely. And now, get ready. 59 incredible facts about Jamaica that will make you want to grow dreadlocks. Jamaica is an island country in the Caribbean Sea located 140 kilometers south of Cuba. This is an enchanting island that has the potential to become an absolute tourist paradise. Of course, if it didn't have so many problems, which I will tell you about in just a moment. The area of the island and the country as a whole is only 11,000 square kilometers. However, it ranks as the third largest island in the Caribbean, of course, after Cuba and Hispaniola, on which Haiti and the Dominican Republic lie. The population of Jamaica at the moment is about 2.8 million people. And 2024 was the first year in decades in which it began to decline. More and more often, Jamaicans, as they are called, go to work in the Dominican Republic because it's nearby, but they often flee to the United States and Great Britain. Unlike the Dominican Republic, however, the official language of Jamaica is not Spanish, but English, and with a very specific accent. I'm sure you have heard it somewhere in films or in games if you play GTA. Their mother tongue, however, is even more colorful and is called patois. It is a heavily altered English, with their most famous phrase remaining wagwan. This translates as "what's going on." The people in Jamaica are predominantly Christian, and the most interesting thing is that this country is the third in the world by number of churches per square kilometer. They actually have thousands of churches and chapels, with families often attending Sunday prayer. The capital of Jamaica is the city of Kingston, which does sound quite English. It currently has a population of about 660,000 people. In 1907, however, it was completely leveled by a strong earthquake and is now literally rebuilt from the ground up. The territory of Jamaica is highly seismic, and a large part of it is occupied by limestone plateau. In reality, the island lies atop a giant underwater mountain. However, this has led to the formation of numerous caves and karst springs. The very name Jamaica, etymologically, comes from Haimaka, which translates as land of springs. In fact, the largest cave in the entire Caribbean is located precisely in Jamaica and is known for its massive galleries. The Jamaicans, however, can even pull reggae out of the cave formations within it. The island of Jamaica, as the summit of a mountain, is by no means flat, as you have surely guessed. The average elevation at its center is 700 meters above sea level. In its eastern part, the famed Blue Mountains even rise, with their highest point reaching up to 2,256 meters. It is by no means low. Jamaica enjoys a tropical climate with quite hot and humid weather along the coast, and thus more pleasant and cooler temperatures inland where it is higher. They actually have two seasons, dry and rainy. The first people inhabiting present-day Jamaica are Indians from the Arawak tribe, also known as the Taino. They were peaceful farmers and fishermen, but in 1494, our Columbus arrived and, together with today's Dominican Republic, discovered Jamaica for the Spaniards. When a little while ago I said that Columbus discovers Jamaica, I actually meant more that he enslaves Jamaica, since many locals even die because of the diseases brought by the Europeans. The Spaniards suck out whatever they can, then abandon the island, and the population after them dwindles to 2,000–3,000 people. The British take advantage of the situation and, after they cannot capture the more appetizing island of Hispaniola, on which Haiti and the Dominican Republic lie, they headed for Jamaica. And so in 1655, it became a British colony. They, however, find it almost empty and emaciated, with very little remaining local population to enslave again and to work. For that, the British begin to bring a huge quantity of slaves from Africado. Turn Jamaica into a center of the sugar industry then. Today, over 90% of the population of Jamaica has African roots for this reason. At the same time, Jamaica turns into a stronghold for pirates, and the most serious ones at that. In reality, part of the inspiration for Pirates of the Caribbean comes precisely from Jamaica and the way of life of the pirates of those times. In reality, during the 17th century, Port Royal in Jamaica is precisely their capital. And for that it becomes known as the most evil city on earth. After the devastating earthquake in 1692, however, a large part of the city sank into the sea. Today, there are even tours in which to explore the underwater ruins. Thanks also to the help from nature, the British managed to fully seize the island. At that time, there were 15,000 white people and 370,000 enslaved people of color from Africa and India. You can surely imagine what happened. There were numerous uprisings, wars, repressions, but only in 1962 did Jamaica finally gain its independence. I must mention that slavery and the exploitation of people in Jamaica were among the harshest in the world. The slaves worked 16 hours a day in brutal conditions without absolutely any rights. Today, Jamaica is still part of the British Commonwealth, headed by the King of England, Charles III. In recent years, however, it has been planning to remove the British monarch as head of state and become a republic. It is expected that this year there will be a referendum, and this question will be decided. Jamaicans adore drinking rum. This tradition has remained from the times of the sugar plantations, when the slaves discovered a way to make alcohol from the waste of sugarcane. Some historians even believe that Jamaica is the birthplace of this drink, although it is not proven. In Jamaica, black magic known as obeah is still practiced. Although it has been banned by law since the 18th century, nowadays many people still rely on it for healing. Others, however, use obeah to settle scores, such as curses and revenge. In Jamaica, there is an interesting spring that burns when lit, and quite intensely at that. Its water is warm and you can enter it, as the locals use it directly as a spa center and for treatment. The phenomenon is made possible thanks to the gases that come out of the Earth's depths, along with the water. In Jamaica, dear friends, one of the few bioluminescent lagoons in the world is located. You can observe this phenomenon almost all year round there, and it is believed that their glow is the strongest. The currency of Jamaica is the Jamaican dollar, with their largest banknote being the 5,000, which equals about 30 euro. You should know, however, that it is not particularly cheap there. Prices of some products exceed ours in the shops, so we're in the middle. Give a thumbs up, and let's continue with even more interesting facts about Jamaica. In Jamaica, there is a culture known as Rastafarianism, or, in short, Rastafari, or rather, just Rasti. Rastafarians are characterized by their dreadlocked hairstyles and the smoking of Mary Jane, which connects them to spirituality. Rastafarianism is actually a whole spiritual movement coming from Ethiopia, not from Jamaica. It is influenced by biblical texts and was popularized globally, of course, by Bob Marley. Today, it is a cultural and religious movement that is associated with peace, love, and spirituality. Since for one reason or another, they have been rejected by the way of life in the cities, the Rastafarians live in isolated communities in rural areas. The more serious the dreadlocks on your head, the more respected you are in their society. A little while ago, I mentioned reggae to you, and this style of music actually emerged in Jamaica in the 1960s. It is characterized by a slow and relaxing rhythm, and the lyrics are on social and spiritual topics. Of course, the most famous representative of reggae is Bob Marley. Today, this music is regarded as a symbol of peace, love, and freedom of all kinds. Usain Bolt, or often called the fastest man on earth, is another famous representative of Jamaica. He has a full 8 Olympic medals and still holds 3 world records, the most famous of which is the 100-meter sprint in 9.58 seconds. Jamaican cuisine is quite diverse, with dominant flavors of curry and various fish specialties. Instead of bread, however, they prefer to eat jackfruit, which has a similar texture and also grows abundantly on the island. Jamaicans' favorite fruit, though, is highly poisonous if not properly ripened. It is called ackee or Jamaican fruit, and it has 3 characteristic black seeds. Everything around them, however, is edible, and this fruit is most commonly cooked with fish in a salty stew. In the past, Jamaica became a battleground for flexing muscles and technological rivalry between England and Spain. These 2 great powers competed over who would build the more advanced colony in the Caribbean. For example, the first railway system outside of Europe and America, of course, was built there, as well as the first telephone. The Spanish drastically lagged behind in Hispaniola during this time, but they were more focused on South America. And what you see on your screens right now is the most famous tourist attraction in Jamaica, Dunn's River Falls. Tourists there wait in line for hours to climb up a special path. Along the river, bamboo rafting is also offered in case the climb is too much of a workout for some people. The coolest part, though, is that you can go down to the beach and see how the river flows into the sea through the rocks. The entrance fee is around €10 per person, and there's a set amount of time you're allowed to stay there. This, on the other hand, is voted the most beautiful and exotic beach in the country. It's called 7 Mile, but it's not actually 7 miles long, it's more like 4. Still, it's truly a paradise where thousands gather to watch the sunsets. In Jamaica, there are actually 2 types of beaches: public, like the one on your screen, and paid. The first ones are mostly visited by locals and are not the most beautiful. Plus, they often lack amenities like restrooms or restaurants. The paid beaches, however, cost around €5 per person and are a real fairy tale. Like, for example, Columbus Cove. You still can't expect sun loungers there, but those places are more like nature reserves. By the way, this is exactly the tropical paradise as I imagine it. Despite all this beauty, Jamaica has quite a few natural and social problems that have plagued the country for years. For starters, it lies in a strongly seismic zone and has been devastated more than once. On top of that, it's located in the Atlantic hurricane belt and is often hit by powerful storms. Putting nature aside, the crime levels in Jamaica are still extremely high, and kidnappings there are a daily occurrence. The country is constantly in the top 20 most dangerous countries for tourists, and nearly all ministries advise avoiding it. And putting the kidnappings aside, Jamaica is a leader in a ranking known as most murders per 100,000 people. That number there is 55. Just to point out that by the same indicator, all of Europe has 3 murders per 100,000 people. Compare 55 to 3. In Jamaica, dear friends, there are serious ghettos and poverty. There, gangs rule, constantly fighting for territory, and also for the distribution of their well-known green herb. Most houses in these areas are built in stages and are illegal. First, one floor is made, and after some money comes in, the next ones are built. However, if you see a house with tall palm trees in front, then probably its owners are wealthy. In 1988, Jamaica became the first tropical country to participate in the Winter Olympic Games. That's funny because most people there have never seen snow in their lives. The discipline in which the Jamaican team competed was bobsleigh, because they had good sprinters, and that was extremely important for the start of the sled. However, they finished in 30th place out of 40 teams. The flag of Jamaica, together with that of one other country, are the only ones in the world that do not contain white, blue, or red. Theirs has 2 triangles formed by a yellow cross, which is a symbol of abundance. The green, as you might guess, is for the landscapes, and the black is for the people. Jamaica has one super famous story with a haunted house. It is connected to the spirit of Annie Palmer, who killed all 3 of her husbands using one of those black magic's obia that I told you about earlier. Today, there are tourist tours in the mansion. Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee is one of the most prestigious and expensive coffees in the world. It is grown in very limited quantities in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica, and the combination of climate, soil, and minerals gives it that specific taste. Jamaica has won the title of Miss World a total of 4 times, and right now you're seeing footage from their last winner in 2019. Jamaica, by the way, is among the most awarded nations in the world when it comes to female beauty. The most famous hotel in Jamaica is called Golden Eye, and if you just made the connection with James Bond, it's not a coincidence. The author of the novels about 007 bought a house in Jamaica and spent a large part of his life there, drawing inspiration from this country. The most dangerous animal in Jamaica is considered to be the American saltwater crocodile. Otherwise, they also have a special kind of Jamaican iguana, which is quite large. Can you believe these 50 mind-blowing facts about Jamaica? From Blue Mountain Coffee that fuels the world to the birthplace of reggae royalty, this island truly punches above its weight. But hey, which fact shocked you most? Drop a comment below. And if you learned something new, don't play stoosh. Smash that like button. Subscribe for more island mysteries. Hit the bell so you never miss a vibe. Jamaica, more than just sand and sunshine,